Hi there. I want to welcome you to another episode, and I'm so incredibly thrilled to be talking with Cyrus Khambatta. Now, I first met Cyrus in person about 6 months ago in Palmaya in Mexico. We are on the Holistic Leadership Council together. And I mean, besides just Cyrus being an exceptional human being, I had the opportunity to work with him with my hands, which was super fun, and then dive into the world with him with block therapy. So welcome, Cyrus. Come on out and say hi to everyone.
Thank you, Deanna. I'm so glad to be with you today. You've literally changed my life in a very short period of time. So I appreciate any opportunity to hang out with you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Cyrus. First of all, share a little bit about you for our people.
Sure. So I have been living with 3 autoimmune conditions since the early 2000s. Basically, it's in 2002. I grew up as an athlete. I've always been an athlete my entire life. I played soccer. I've lifted weights when I was 16 years old and beyond. And when I was 22 years old in the year 2002, all of a sudden I got diagnosed with 3 autoimmune conditions: type 1 diabetes, Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, as well as alopecia universalis, which is why I have no hair. So life changed drastically for me back in the early 2000s. And since that time, I've been on a quest to literally try and become the healthiest that I've ever been. And so, I've done 1,000 different changes over the course of time. And, I've migrated to eating a plant-based diet. So what I do as a human being is I teach people how to transition towards a more plant-based lifestyle for an incredible amount of incredible benefits, including chronic disease, not just prevention, but reversal. And, in this process, I've been able to control my type 1 diabetes with precision. And I feel like $1 million. And I'm, because I continue to be an athlete, there's always aches and pains that come along for the ride. And then when I ended up meeting you, I was like, okay, maybe we could talk about the tension that I'm feeling in my body. Maybe you could help me out. And so here we are today.
Yeah, and I remember that first time when I saw you, I think it was around the pool, and I just immediately looked at your legs and we started having a conversation about, some of your causates and stuff. So we do have some really cool before and after photos to share, which I'll do in a little bit. Let's just dive in a little bit further though about the significance really of the lower body and how that impacts everything up the chain, because I know you've spent quite a lot of time in your calves and your feet, and like you've really made in a 2-month window of those before and afters. I was blown away by your transformation. In fact, when I reached out to you, I was thinking that you were doing so many things, because I was just like, how could this even be possible? But then you shared that you were just blocking.
It's fascinating to me because how there's like the what do they say? The best things in life are free, and or the simplest solutions are always the ones that are probably the most logical, or the ones that are the best, right? So I remember before I even got to Mexico to hang out with you in person, I had been struggling from this like upper back and shoulder tension that, truth be told, has been around for like a decade. And it's just been kind of like progressively becoming more and more prominent over the course of time. And it got to a point where my left shoulder, which I've already had 2 arthroscopic surgeries, 2 labrum repairs on this guy, right? I've been treating this guy with as much love and compassion as possible. But despite that, despite having done CrossFit 5 to 6 times a week, I ended up with this number where I was crooked.
Yeah.
And my left shoulder was like much more tight than my right shoulder. And it was causing my entire frame to shift to the right-hand side. And so as a result of that, you can imagine if you're living in a crooked state, your upper back is constantly tight. I'm constantly trying to wiggle myself indoors and trying to relieve the tension and lying on lacrosse balls. And I was just uncomfortable. So I'm going on a walk with my daughter Indigo, and we're just like walking, our cats in the morning, like we always do. And I was just sort of looking up at the sky, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, Cyrus, why don't you do block therapy? Why are you resistant to doing block therapy? It's the solution, and it's the solution. And I was like, yeah, I should probably do it. And it was in that moment that I was like, I'm going to commit to doing this. I'm going to commit to working with Deanna. I'm going to commit to actually making block therapy part of my life. And then I ended up meeting you. And then we had a discussion in person. And then you put your hands on me. And then you started to explain to me what the problem was in my lower body all the way through my upper body. And then I committed to block therapy. And then my life changed, right? So a lot of things have unfolded in a very short period of time. But, to answer your question here, one of the things that you helped me recognize early on in the game is that upper back tension and shoulder tension does not originate necessarily in your upper back and your shoulders. The entire time for the past 10, 15 years, I've been like, there's a problem in my back. There's a problem in my back. There's a problem in my shoulder. And you helped me recognize that I had a flat tire on my right foot and that my right foot was splayed out to the right-hand side. And as a result of that, my frame was tilted right off the bat and my foundation wasn't set properly. And simultaneously with that, you also helped me recognize that the tension inside of both of my calf muscles was immense. And I knew that for many years because I've been a soccer player ever since I was a little kid. And, you know, I would stretch my calves frequently, but it got to a point where I was just like, oh my God, don't touch my calves. Don't touch my calves. Like they're too tight. And what you helped me recognize within a short period of time as I was going through very specific block sessions was that when I spent time on my calf muscles and when I spent time between my toes and on the fascia, on my plantar fascia, on the bottom of my feet, it unlocked everything, literally unlocked everything above
Oh my gosh.
that. And it gave me goosebumps because I didn't even have to do that much, but I'd be sitting on the couch and I would take my fingers and I would just dig them into my toes and I would pull back and I was like, oh, make this hurt. And I did it on both feet and I did it multiple times. And then I would go through your blocking sessions and then I would focus on my calf muscles and I'd stick the block between my hamstring and my calf and I'd sit on it and I would get uncomfortable and I would just get into it. And I would start sweating profusely from the top of my head. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to get to a point of like complete uncomfortability, but this is not supposed to feel good. Don't go to injury. Just go to a point where you're actually getting inside of those calf muscles. And I did. And as a result of that, my gastroc released and my soleus released. And as soon as those two released, I could literally within minutes, I'm not even joking with you, minutes, I could feel my upper back just releasing. And it was like, I was like, wow, Deanna is not messing around with this stuff. This stuff is real.
That gave me goosebumps. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. So I just want to jump back. Like, so you're walking and you have this download. Like, where did that come from? Was it just your higher self saying like, you know, or were you that's just awesome.
Yeah. I mean, where does it come from? I think it's the same place that like that inner voice that's been with me my whole life came from. It's the same inner voice that told me when I first got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and I was in a deep dark hole that if I just focused on food and I started to understand food at a molecular level, that my life would change for the better. So I did. And that's what drove me to go, you know, study nutritional biochemistry and like get in the weeds. It's the same voice that has taught me that, you know, if you treat people with respect and you always, you know, are as authentic as you possibly can be with every human being, that's probably the most important thing you can do in life, right? It's that same voice that comes to me every so often where all of a sudden I'm just like, I know this, it's already in me. I don't have to work that hard for it. I just have to access with the information that's already in there because you had come to I did a Zoom session with you in a group setting a year before, and we had done a session with a towel, you know, and we'd gone through this process. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I just took a towel, a soft, rubbery towel, and I got that one single session inflicted more, you know, comfortable pain and more tension, you know, relief on me than I had felt in months or even years. And I was like, wow, Deanna knows something that like most human beings don't know. So I think that first experience then incubated, then it came back to me. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait a minute. Block therapy is without a shadow of the doubt, the answer for so much discomfort, chronic pain, and just pure muscular and fascial tension, period, end of story. There's no question about it.
Wow. First of all, thank you so much for saying that. That's
Absolutely.
incredible. Give me a bit of your day. Like, how much time are you actually spending on your fascia every day?
Yeah, great question. The answer is not enough and not a lot, right? I was actually shocked because you had given me a protocol and you said, all right, I want you to do, you know, all things feet days 1, 2, 3. Then I want you to do all things, you know, abdomen 1, 2, 3. And then you walked me through psoas and so on and so forth. You gave me a systematic protocol. So I said to myself, all right, I'm just going to pull up these videos and I'm just going to literally go into block therapy, you know, .tv. And I'm just going to watch the video and I'm going to watch you and Quinn. And I'm just going to repeat. I'm just going to do exactly what you said. So it started out by being about half an hour per day. And truth be told, I could probably get like If I got 4 or 5 of those sessions in per week, we're talking like half an hour, 4 times a week, that was considered like, I could feel the effects of that very quickly. And so I was holding consistent with that. And then it got a little bit less, to be perfectly honest, not because I wanted to be less, but just because, things got in the way. Long story short, now on a weekly basis, I block realistically twice a week. I would love to block every day, truth be told. And I'm going to go back into doing that because I love it so much. But even at just twice a week for like half an hour at a shot, the fascial decompression that I get from that is immense. One of the things I was worried about is that I would have to commit to doing it every single day, because one half an hour session would probably be only good enough for 24 hours. And then I'd have to do another session, and then that would only be good for 24 hours. And it had like a shelf life of 24 hours. But no, that's not true at all. What I'm finding is that, if I can commit to doing this on a somewhat regular basis amidst a busy lifestyle, that, the decompression lasts over a long period of time. And overall, I end up with like significant whole body decompression, which then translates to just feeling more comfortable in my skin.
And it sounds like to me, you're also really implementing some of those postural components. So, you were saying like, you think of me and if your feet are under the chair, then you change that. Like, that is so significant. And I would say one of the main reasons why you're getting this continual change with only twice a week, because that's part of it, right? If we can understand how to use our body in the way it was designed to be driven all the time, then there's way less adhesion created on a daily basis that we then have to go in and deal with. So besides blocking, what other activities do you do on a regular basis?
Great question. So historically, I've been doing CrossFit for the past 7 years, and I would worked up CrossFit from being like 3 days a week all the way upwards of like 6 days a week. I actually had to put CrossFit down about 4 months ago at the time that I had met you, because it was not helping me, right? Nothing wrong with CrossFit. It's an incredible sport, but it was just like too much, and I needed a break from it. So as a result of that, I've gone back to going to the gym and doing like pure strength training regimens with a trainer who basically teaches me exactly like what exercises to focus on. So it's, rather than doing Metcons, which are like, elevated heart rate, moving really quickly from one exercise to the next high intensity, it's much lower intensity, but it's still like significant weight, like hypertrophy, like go hard, right? So I do that at the gym 5 days a week. And then in addition to that, I'm also, I get on a bike, or I'll maybe get on the Peloton, and I will do, 3 to 4 sessions, and I will go as hard as I possibly can there as well. One of the themes that I've noticed with myself over the course of life is that I really have like 2 modes. I have either like resting and relaxing mode, or when I'm exercising, for whatever silly reason, I just go balls to the wall. Right. And I've known that about myself. And sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes I just like crash and burn, and I like laugh at myself for just trying to like push too hard. But it's been like a constant theme over the course of my life. So like whatever I'm doing, whenever it's physical, if I'm going to go, do long distance swimming, like I'm going to go hard, and I'm going to push myself as hard as I possibly can, because there's a sense of enjoyment that I get where I'm like, my heart is beating so fast and I'm just sweating profusely. I'm just like, wow, this is what makes me feel so alive. I love this feeling. Right. So to answer your question, 5 days of strength training per week, plus call it like 3 or 4 days, three days realistically of like elevated heart rate, like strong cardiovascular exercise. And then in addition to that, my wife and I also play pickleball on the side just for funsies. So that's been a new development that's been really fun.
Okay. Wow. It's really interesting because so many of our members, they always ask about being in the gym. And the thing is, it sounds like because you are doing everything in correct alignment, that, am I correct in saying that? Like, you're very conscious of how you're doing the weights. You're not just going in and like, wrecking yourself in the gym, which a lot of people tend to do, I find, where if you're doing that many times a week and only a couple times of blocking and you're still going in the right direction, that's really awesome to hear, because so many people often find that adding the weights in is a little bit counter. And I mean, I agree it's counter if you're not doing it in correct alignment, because then you're just strengthening yourself further out of alignment. So you found this beautiful mixture of being able to really utilize all the different approaches to health and fitness that you love, and, you know, keep it at bay with block. And I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's very well said. You know, I kind of have been, because I've been lifting weights now for 28 years. I've been a stickler about my form ever since I started. And like, you know, my form's not perfect on everything by any stretch of the imagination. I'm always improving. I'm always trying to like be very conscious about, you know, postural alignment, especially when I'm under load, no question. But that being said, yeah, like I don't view blocking as a thing that enables me to work out. I think in my head, it's kind of a different conversation. It's I work out and I will hopefully always work out until the day I die, because it's just such, I get such enjoyment out of it that like almost nothing is better. Right. So that's a de facto. I'm going to do that. Blocking helps me do it in as fluid a manner as possible. Right. If I took blocking out of my life, I would still work out and I would still push hard, and I would still get to a point where I would like go to sleep at night and I'd be like, oh my God, why is my neck all weird? And how come I got this tension here? And what's going on? Right. I would still work out hard. It just wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't be as like enjoyable. What I find to be so enjoyable is when I can go and I can push hard and then I can block simultaneously, you know, within the same week, multiple times. And over the course of the week, my quality of life is extremely high because I'm not waking up with ridiculous aches and pains, and I'm not stretching myself in a doorway 15 times a day just to get the tension out of my upper back that I wish would just disappear, right? Blocking enables me to live a normal life and also go to the gym and also push hard and also enjoy all of it.
Oh, wow. I'm just so excited to hear that.
Yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about the breath piece, because like I remember, and maybe we should even pull up your photos now just so we can see where we were starting and we can really like zero in on what was going on with your body.
Let's do it.
Let's do that. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen here. So this is back in April in Mexico, first photos. So yeah, chat again about what you were experiencing in this moment. I'm just going to make this picture a little bigger for us.
Yeah, let's zoom in on that picture right there.
Yeah, where do you want to be? Like, do you want to be on the feet or on the shoulder? Or
yeah, maybe let's start on the shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, truth be told, like you can sort of dissect my anatomy better than I can, but if I can remember exactly what you were saying, is that you can see in this photo, my left shoulder is higher than my right shoulder. So basically, like from our vantage point, when you look on the shoulder on the right-hand side of the photo, it appears to be just a little bit higher than the left-hand side. It's hard to see, but it's there.
Yeah.
There's also a little bit of a bump on my left shoulder, which is actually a lipoma, and that has nothing to do with block therapy per se, but like that makes my left shoulder look like it's even higher. And then in addition to that, my left pec, if you look closely, my left chest muscle is tighter. It's more compressed than my right. My right one is a little bit larger and a little bit looser from what I can tell. What am I missing? I think there's probably multiple other things that are happening here.
Well, one of the things that, you know, I'm always looking at is the distinction between the ribs and the diaphragm. So it's like we have, and I remember when I put my hands on you and I commented on how tremendously tight you are, it felt like you had a belt around you right through here.
Correct.
So your diaphragm was really impacted. And I mean, already just over here, like we're able to see this distinction, not only in your muscles, but in your rib cage more now. So like that for me was a really big thing. You can see down through here, like these are all those false walls and false floors. It's where the collagen migrates to create stability so that we don't tip over. So, you know, like as we were talking about your feet, this is the flat tire that we're talking about, right? So whenever I'm looking at a body, I'm always looking for which is the driver and which is the anchor. So the flat tire, if you think about your car, if you have a flat tire on that front right tire and you're driving, the steering wheel is going to get tugged over to the right. So that's what happens in the body is we have this flat tire. So this foot is more pronated. It's further away from midline than your left. So as it's getting tugged away, the left side of your body has to anchor so that you don't fall on your face. Think of walking a 120-pound German Shepherd that's tugging on your body. And so it's the opposite side of your body that has to contract so you don't fall. So this is like a slow moving version of that. And that's how those adhesions shift. It's the collagen that migrates from balance in the fascia so that the structural piece of the fascia can create these rigid areas to basically build up scaffolding for us. So that's why we get so messed up, is because this patterning that our bodies are migrating toward with gravity and with being dominant on one side and injuries and surgeries and all of that stuff, that creates grooves in how we move. And then each day those grooves get thicker, thicker, bigger, bigger. So we keep falling in faster and faster. And so for you, you have truly, and again, this is only 2 months later, so I would love to see some new photos of you anytime, because I'm sure you're completely different and for another day. But I mean, again, the changes that you made in your body in 2 months are spectacular. Now, we also have a different camera angle. So if we were taking it at the same angle, this would have a different look, because you look like you're leaning forward more, but it's likely just because, again, you've got the camera higher. But again, the changes are spectacular. Even though you're wearing shoes here, I can tell you've made tremendous progress in the alignment of your feet. We're starting to see more of the muscle belly of your calves becoming more balanced. Here we've got, very like, and when we see these ankles that are thin, whatever the word is that you want to use, that's how strongly held that fascia was wrapped around. So
that's
now you're starting to get life in through here. So those cells are starting to plump up and get a little bigger.
That is fascinating to me. I have noticed it's hard to see on the right-hand side, the sort of like calf muscle definition, but like I've definitely noticed over the course of time that my calf muscles are not on, they're more sort of like rubber band like. They have more of a bounce to them, like when I flick them or when I like mess with them. First of all, they don't hurt as much, and secondarily, they're much more malleable, which is cool. But one thing I am noticing on the picture on the right-hand side, the after picture, is that you can clearly see there's like more definition in my abs, which is cool. And it may be hard to see, but my shoulder alignment is different. My left shoulder is still just a little bit higher than my right shoulder, I believe, based on this photo. But I can tell you that since this photo was taken, we're now 2 more months into the future. I have so much more alignment between my left and right side. And it's been a long time since that's been the case. I am noticing, go ahead, sorry.
So I was just going to say, like, this is a huge change through here. Like, this is that internal rotation of the humerus. And now we have basically created a barricade to flow of the blood, the nerve flow, the lymph flow into the arm and in through this whole area. So now you can see how much more open and spacious it is. So now you've taken away some of those major roadblocks.
Yes, that is a true statement. Okay, I'd never actually noticed that myself. One thing I am noticing that's very obvious to me is that if you were to draw a vertical line down the middle of my body, like through my belly button on through my chin, let's say, the left part of the picture, from our angle, the left side is much more relaxed than the right side. The right side, from this perspective, the abdomen muscles actually look like they're being pulled up. Like it's almost like I'm grabbing a string and I'm pulling them up towards the ceiling. And that pectoralis on the right-hand side of the picture looks like it's still much more, it's compressed versus the left-hand side. So like there's still clearly much more work to do. And I'm fully admitting to that. But the tension relief that you cannot see in the photo that has happened in my back is like night and day.
Well, and now the next set are your back photos, and this is wild. So just
okay. Yeah, let's see those.
I will get rid of this guy. So here's your back before and your back after.
Okay, there we go. There we go. So there's a big, could you maybe zoom in on the photo on the left-hand side?
You bet.
Yeah, let's talk these ones through because there was big changes here.
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, just looking at this before photo and knowing again that this right foot is this driver pulling you to that right side. This is why we're seeing the shoulder blade aligned this way, because it's getting drawn over to the right. So now it's hiked up higher. This right shoulder is dropped because that whole right side is pulling over. You can see it here as well, but it's way, way, way different. But again, like you because of the rib cage collapsing forward here, this is why we're seeing this through here, where now you've lifted your rib cage and you're holding your body properly from that diaphragmatic foundation at the base of the cage. So you don't like, you're seeing the integration of these muscles, where here, we're seeing these striations, and it's just kind of tissue that's not integrated fully.
Good call.
And now we're starting to see such a different level of integration in your back. And I mean, even here, like, this is a huge area of tension that was in your back, because these muscles were popping up to try to stop your pelvis from getting pulled forward. So now there's still work to do, but big, huge change through here.
So those two muscles on my lower back, those are the QL muscles, correct? The quadratus lumborum. Yeah. So those things I think we're holding on for dear life, no question.
Yes, they sure were.
Yeah.
And as much as I can't really see because of your shorts, like, I know that if we could see sort of in the same shorts, your butt would have been lifted and tighter, like harder, tighter, not in the tighter that we want, right? Like, but bound up through here, because everything is, again, counterbalancing the force from the feet. And this is where that 2,000 pound per square inch seal is going to grip you with the greatest amount of tension, because it's the furthest from the engine. And that's why it's so important to work on the calves and the feet. And when we do, we have changes all the way up the chain. Similarly, if you've got a shoulder issue, you could work for decades on your shoulder. And if you don't change the foundation, every time you walk, you're going to get pulled back into that same alignment that was creating that issue in the first place. So that's why understanding cause sites is so key, because people are spending time and money and, blood, sweat, and tears to try to get out of pain, or to try to create a change in their body that they're wanting. But if they're missing areas that they aren't recognizing are so important to undo, then we don't make those gains.
It's fascinating to hear you say this, actually, because now that I've gone through the process of relaxing the fascia that are surrounding my calf muscles in particular, and seeing how much that translates to a fascial decompression, like north of the equator, we'll say north of my waist.
Yep.
I can now see it in other people when I'm standing next to them, or I'm like seeing them at the gym, or, the grocery store. I look at people, I'm like, oh, look at the flat tire on the left-hand side. Look at her shoulders up, hiked up on the left. I can see it all much better than I was able to see it before. One thing that I actually just noticed right here on the picture on the left-hand side, could you zoom in on my calf muscles?
You bet.
Okay. I think what I'm seeing on my right calf muscle is smaller than my left calf muscle. The belly of the muscle is a little bit smaller. And I think it's because the right calf muscle is just holding on for dear life. It's like very tight and compressed.
Yes.
I think that's what I see here. On the right-hand side.
You can really see too, because if you notice, like in the difference here, the knees have more girth than before, because again, just like your ankles, the fascia has basically strangled your knee and strangled your ankle. So you're seeing how it looks like skinny and then big, where here we're seeing that the actual knee joint looks broader, and it's matching more the size and shape of your muscles.
Fascinating. I did not see that. Okay. That's huge. It's funny, once you start to like micro dissect these, individual body parts, you can see all the changes. Now, if you go to I guess here, like if we zoom in on the calf muscles to sort of compare, that might be helpful. There you go. Yeah. So both of the calf muscles have a little bit more of a rounder look to them. I think my right calf muscle is not, maybe a little bit smaller than my left calf muscle still, but significantly looser. I can tell you that much.
And that's an interesting thing too, because I remember when I was in university and I was going to the gym and doing weights, and there was this massive guy. He was just huge and muscular, but he had these pencil-sized calves. And he would be in the gym and he would have, I can't even tell you how many stacks of weight on that calf raise bar. And I mean, it's like, and I'd watch him and I'd be like, wow, like I didn't know anything back then. And I'm thinking, that's so strange. Like, he's so disproportionate in his body. Now, what I understand, I mean, you could work out forever doing calf raises or strengthening for this, and you're not going to build your calves. I know a lot of bodybuilders, their calves are, different in size and they want them to be bigger. You can already see, I don't think you've done, well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from here to here, I don't think you changed much else as far as your workout routines. Am I correct in saying that?
So here's what I have changed. To answer your question, no, I don't do a bunch of calf raises right now. I'm not like sitting there trying to rep out 100 calf raises, especially with a lot of weight. What I have been able to do is, as the tension has as the fascial tension has gone away, it enables me to be able to lift more weight and complete more sets. So I can actually just perform more work. And because I'm performing more work over the course of time, that enables my muscles to go into a hypertrophic state. Therefore, they can get larger and they can, grow systematically over the course of time. So it's, in my mind, cause and effect, right? What's the cause? The cause of that's preventing the muscles from actually growing is they're being strangled by the fascia that's surrounding them. So get rid of the stranglehold, and all of a sudden the muscles now wake up and are able to actually grow the way that they're supposed to.
Yeah. And if you can imagine, like, blowing up a balloon fully and completely, how it's round, it glows, it defies gravity. Take half the air out or more of the air out, it's wrinkled, it's dense, and it falls down, and it's sticky, right? So this is what's happening. Like when we have all the adhesions in the tissue, now we're not getting oxygen into the cells. So the cells are deflated. So again, and because those adhesions aren't allowing for proper flow, you can't work them bigger. There's not enough cells integrating into the action. So as soon as we start melting those adhesions and scar tissue, then we start awakening the cells previously blocked, so they become part of the equation to get bigger and to be part of your movement and your strength focus.
Yeah, it's almost like now they can be recruited to participate.
Yes, I love that word. You know what? I've
Yep.
been waiting for that way to say it. So thank you so much for that. That's awesome.
For sure. Now let's do this. Go to my shoulders from the back. And I think that this is where the true change occurred. On the left-hand side, you can see that I'm crooked. I'm literally leaning to the right-hand side. My right shoulder is lower than my left shoulder, and my left scapula is winging, right? It's like popping out versus my right scapula. So you can see that I'm leaning to the right-hand side. My left scap's popping out. And then you can also see on the right-hand side, the latissimus dorsi muscle, the one that's like surrounding the scapula. Yeah. It anchors lower on the right-hand side than it anchors on the left.
Yeah.
But on the picture on the right-hand side, you can see that my shoulders are now at relatively equal height to one another. So that's a huge change right there. Like I'm no longer crooked, and that feels awesome. And then secondarily, my left scap is not winging anymore. It's not winging nearly as much as it used to wing. So that's good, because that relieves a lot of tension in my, in my thoracic region as well. And then I can't necessarily tell with too much detail here, but it doesn't look like my lats are too different from one another. There still could be a little bit of an imbalance, but it seems to have gone down significantly.
Oh, I mean, incredible change. And what's so cool to note too is, again, with this winging of the scapula here compared to here, what you've done is you've corrected your foot, because the foot was causing that pulling and the winging. So, you could have in your mind said, okay, I'm going to pull that shoulder blade back and down, but now you're fighting a 2,000 pound per square inch anchor at your foot. So that whole shift has allowed your rib cage to be the proper foundation for your shoulders and your head and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice.
One other thing that I maybe haven't really touched on earlier is that the Diaphragm series, holy smokes. Holy smokes. I had no idea what I was in for. You told me when we first met each other that my diaphragm was like a belt surrounding me, right? And it wasn't until I like fully got into blocking in my diaphragm that I began to realize just how correct you were. Because when I took that block and I dug it into, like upper middle diaphragm, or even just like underneath my right floating ribs or left floating ribs, it was like, there was so much tension in there that I was like, this is uncomfortable, like very uncomfortable. And I kept on asking myself, like, why have I not done this before? How is it that nobody has ever taught me to, relieve the tension, or to like, what's the word I'm looking for? To like put focus on the muscles of my diaphragm. But once I did that, again, it gave me a lot of tension release also in my back again. And that has contributed to me feeling 1,000 times better too.
So
now what are we looking at here?
I love the side shots. Let me just get our pictures out of the way here. Yeah, and I don't have the full picture of your foot here, but you can see, let me make this a little bit bigger. You can see all of these here are the false walls and false floors that get created. And your your foot here. So whenever it's where we're determining what side is the driver and what side is the anchor, I always look at where the lateral malleolus is in relation to the rest of the foot. So just as an example, here's your right side. And if I pull this up,
Fascinating.
see that the lateral malleolus here is, it's almost like it's going to slip off the foot, because this is the leg that's drawing you out of your alignment. It's pulling everything to the right. And then we have this one where now that whole lateral malleolus, it's resting more. It looks like it's almost in the center of your foot instead of towards the edge. So those are those migrations that occur. And then all of the tension in the calves and right around this knee part here, again, if we could see it, this is popping out really strongly. So this is creating a knee joint that is very rigid, that's not going to have the space in it. So, you know, you keep doing what you're doing without correcting this over time. You're wearing that cartilage, you're getting that inflammation, potentially arthritis, and so on and so on. So for you to have some future time, we'll have to do things, and we'll actually have to take new pictures of your feet and compare them, because they're going to be so vastly different. But I mean, just already here to this photo, you can see such a softening. Like we don't want the body to be hard when the muscles aren't contracted. We want there to be softness, because hard means adhesion. It means lack of flow. It's frozen. So when I see this, it's already like, wow, you've created such a change. Plus you're not hyperextending at the knee here. So now your pelvic alignment is so much better. You have way more of an anterior pelvic tilt here. Now you look like you've brought everything back. So you're actually seated more on your heels than more on the balls of your feet, which is what's going on here. And that's why we're getting a sway back, because everything in the body's trying to compensate for what's going on at that foundation. So you get more of this rounded back through here compared to here. Like look at the difference in the length of the back of your neck here to here.
Oh, wow. I did not even look at that. That's crazy.
So no wonder you had pain through here, because now up through here, this is the apex of your body. It's trying to hang on as the anchors, your feet, are pulling you away. So you're getting all of this tension up here, and now so much more relaxed. Your thoracic spine is so much better. So that means you've moved your heart and the lungs to the front of the chest. Like just look at the difference in the size and shape of your pec from here compared to here. And now imagine inside here, you've got your stomach organ, you've got your heart, you've got your spleen, and all that extra space that you've created over here, how that's going to change your digestion, your heart rate, all of that stuff going forward.
Great. Yeah, it's also one thing that I can see too, is that my abdomen on the left picture.
Yeah.
It's like my abdomen is, it's almost like I'm, I don't know, it kind of looks like I'm like mildly pregnant, like I'm sticking my belly out a little bit. Right. And on the right-hand side, you can see I just have like a flatter abdomen wall.
Yeah. And then again, you can see, so these adhesions around the lip of the pelvis here, you don't see them here because there's no need for those adhesions to grab on, because here you're actually standing with intention of alignment, where here your body is, gravity's directing you. So now again, you're having these unconscious holding patterns, which is what those adhesions and those grooves that get created are all about.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's fascinating to look at these pictures, like super close up. There's so many changes that are happening simultaneously.
Yeah, I mean, just, and the tone of your arms, you know, just there's like, we could look at every single part of you and we can see the differences and the changes. It is fascinating.
Agreed. Agreed.
Let's just look at your other side as well, just to compare, because they'll be very, very, very different. Oh, I love this. Like, look at this false wall right here, and look how much softer that is. Again, that's massive tension built up. And so now here you're strangling the carotid artery, your lymphatic drainage from your head, your thyroid. Like, you've got so much going on, because now you've got these major roadblocks here. So your brain won't be getting fed the same, your eyes, your ears, like all of it, the skin. So from an anti-age, like look at the alignment of your chin, how it's pointed here, and now it's getting more rounded. You'll see as people age, their face tends to get longer and narrower, because our skull gets squeezed as we twist. So then we see more pointed chins. We have less room at the palate, which affects we breathe. It affects how we articulate with our jaw. So now already within 2 months of you doing the work, your entire alignment of your head has changed. Like look at the shape of your head here compared to over here, and what that means as you keep going through time.
It's fascinating to think that you can actually change your facial structure by
Yeah.
changing the tension in your fascia that's like below your neck. It doesn't make logical sense, but when you see it, you see it. And
Well, and look where your eye is. Let's pull your face up real closer, because this is just truly spectacular. Like the buildup over your eye here compared to here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Look at where your ear is and how it's positioned on your head.
Wow.
Look at how much more space. So if you imagine here, if you imagine now taking your eyes without turning your head as far over to the right, you have so many adhesions here. Now you've created so much more room for your eyes to have full range of motion.
Wow.
And that
That's
will affect vision over
fascinating.
time. I mean, just think about it. Like, if we're always sitting with a head tilt to the left, the eyes will migrate, the left one will migrate down to that lateral side of the socket, the right one more to the medial side, because that's how we're positioned, and gravity is always going to play a role. So then the adhesions develop in those ranges, just like a shoulder that doesn't have full range of motion. If your eyes don't have full range of motion, then there's parts not getting properly fed or cleaned as well. So then you might end up with cataracts or visual issues or whatever it is, right? Like ultimately, it's all the same thing. It's all a matter of cells not being properly fed and clean. And depending on specifically what cells are being impacted the most will create our scenario as we go forward. So to know that we can undo pretty much anything done through time,
Yep.
at least to a great degree, is so empowering and exciting.
It is. It really is. I mean, we're talking about like years and years and years of accumulated tension
Yeah.
that has gone down tremendously. Not vanished, but gone down significantly within a 2-month period.
So now here's your
bonkers.
liver. So how many people have fatty liver disease, right? When we don't have that diaphragm muscle moving up and down, the liver itself doesn't have the mechanical action to create heat and energy. And think of butter at room temperature as a solid. You heat it up, it's a liquid. So we've got all these fats that get clogged in the liver because it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
And so people, I mean, of course, everything matters, but we have this mechanical opportunity to help us digest our food, to help keep our pancreas properly fed so we don't have metabolic issues, to keep the liver, the gallbladder working properly. And over here, you've got a way happier liver than you do over here.
Amazing. Wow. I didn't actually see that, but now that I see it, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And even just how your arm, how that internal rotation of your arm, how it's hanging compared to here, like you just look relaxed. It's not like you're having your arm is angled here because you're having to splint yourself so that you don't fall forward. But all of those unconscious actions create that internal tension that will, down the road, you might have, if you're playing pickleball, you might end up with pickleball elbow. Let's make one up.
Pickleball, yeah.
Whatever it is, right? So, but you can see the difference in how this joint here is going to be working in your whole arm. And yeah, it's so much fun. So much fun.
Also, the anterior pelvic tilt on the left-hand side, as you can see, I mean, just look at my belt. My belt looks like it's falling forward. And on the right-hand side, there's less of that. I'm not wearing a belt, but you can see it's just like it's a flatter equator.
Yep.
On the left-hand side, it looks like I'm falling forward effectively.
And so now you've got this nice pelvic floor to support your organs, to keep blood flowing. I just did a summit on erectile dysfunction. And, one of the things, if you stand like a duck, you're going to be creating barricades to blood flow. And so that will impact function as you get older. So again, like you can see all these crazy tension lines where here, sorry, I don't have any more of your foot, but such a change.
Yeah, maybe I can get some closer up photos of my legs to see the difference between the lateral calf, like you're saying.
Yeah. So anyways, overall, spectacular. And again, this was a 2-month journey only. Correct. And so you've been at it for, I guess, about 6 months now?
Yeah. I would say April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Holy crap. Yep. Time flies.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's been 6 months now. And I can tell you, I also just like, I, I sometimes I can judge, I can feel how much tension there is in my upper back based off of the number of times per day that I have to stretch it on a pole. So what I do is I walk up to a pole and I grab it and then I just like lean back, you know. I mean, I'll just see if I can show you what it would look like. Like imagine this is a pole. I would grab onto the pole and then I would like lean back like this. And I would do this from the side. And the whole purpose is to sort of like relieve tension in my entire vertebral column. I used to do that 15 to 20 times a day. You know, every hour on the hour, every 45 minutes. And I was just like, oh God, it's back again. It's back again. I'll do it with one hand, do it with the other hand. Then I get on a lacrosse ball and I try and wiggle. And sometimes it would go away. Sometimes it wouldn't. Then I go to the chiropractor and then the chiropractor would give me an adjustment. It would give me like 3 or 4 days worth of tension relief and then it would come right back. Now I do that stretch maybe once a day.
Oh.
There's sometimes where I don't even do it, which is crazy. And then secondarily, I get text messages from my chiropractor. They're like, hey, it's been a while since we've seen you. Do you want to come back in for another appointment? Would you like to come back in for I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't really need it right now. I have my own at-home chiropractor, aka Deanna, virtual Deanna in a block. Right?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty silly the change that's happened. So I mean, I thank you so much for like literally changing the quality of my life. There's just no question about it. And I'm shocked. Number one, I'm shocked that more people don't teach this. Number two, I'm shocked that most people don't know anything about it. And, you know, number three, I'm like so committed to trying to help you spread the word. And I've been like giving it to friends to basically like, take this block and like, let me show you how to use it. Right. And like, go get a Block TV subscription, Block Therapy TV subscription. Just like, it's literally for $49 a month. It's like the most absurd value that I've ever seen before. So like, I appreciate you so much for putting this together and for sharing it. And, you know, I want millions of people to know about this because it is truly a massive, massive life-changing gift.
Well, I mean, you've just given me so much love. Like, thank you.
Yeah, I really mean it.
Yeah. I don't even really know what to say right now. I'm a little speechless, but you've just inspired so many people. We have such a large women-based community, and to have you come out and you share, and also the whole process about like the working out is so great, and so many people are going to be so incredibly happy to hear this. So thank you so much, Cyrus, and thank you everybody for taking the time to listen. And yeah, keep on blocking.
Keep on blocking. Never gets old. Thank you, Deanna.
Bye, everyone.